What will separate us from the love of Christ? Will anguish, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or the sword? With these words, St. Paul states that although he had experienced a great deal of difficulties, he never felt separated from the Lord. He experienced many obstacles and setbacks, and yet always felt strengthened and loved by the Lord. This is very important for us to remember during this time of pandemic. Not even this pandemic can separate us from the Lord. Yes, COVID had emptied churches, streets, parks. It had brought suffering and uncertainty, but the love of Christ remains fully intact. There is only one thing that can break a relationship and separate us from God. That is the evil one. And the way in which we allow sin to be reflected in our actions. Sin was what separated Adam and Eve from God. That is why the Lord said, we shouldn't be worried about the one that killed the body, but about the evil one that can kill the soul. Sin can separate us from God, and when rooted in our soul, can destroy our relationship with Him. The devil has confused the world by saying that sin doesn't exist. In many ways, our culture has lost the sense of sin. Everything seems to be permitted. In this world, we think we have the right to kill the unprotected, babies, elderly, and the sick. We think we have the right to judge one another according to our own individual opinions. We think we have the right to give opinions that many times are contrary to the teaching of the church and the teaching of Christ. When this happens, obviously, is a sign that the evil one has entered into our lives, and we have allowed him to be part of our actions. We don't admit that we're sinners. Everyone else is a sinner, and again, we feel the right to tell others about their sinful lives. Just like the Pharisee. Oh God, I thank you that I'm not like the rest of humanity, greedy, dishonest, adulterous. When we are acting this way, believe me, we are separating ourselves from God. The devil is really influencing and controlling many of our actions. Our separation from God doesn't allow us to recognize the evil one in us. During this time of pandemic, there is much division, anger, and anxiety present through our communities. This provides the soil for sin to grow and to be revealed in arguments, complaints, pride, selfishness, and worry. We don't yet have a vaccine for COVID-19. However, we do have a vaccine for sin. The antidote for sin is grace. The grace of God which we receive through the sacraments of confession and Eucharist. Let us ask the Lord that we may never separate from the sacraments of confession and Eucharist. These sacraments will help us to stay away from sin so that we may never separate ourselves from the love of God.